Welcome back to Noir Alley. I'm your host, Eddie Muller, enjoying a respite here at Bar 355. The movie I've got for you today is a companion piece to last week's East German World War II drama, The Murderers Are Among Us. It's a 1948 production from RKO called Berlin Express, the first Hollywood movie shot in Germany after the end of the war. Berlin Express was a passion project for its producer, Burt Granit. He'd worked in movies since the early 30s, scripting mostly B pictures before catching on at RKO during the war as both a writer and producer. He became pals with actress Lorraine Day when he produced a couple of her wartime comedies. But Granit was itching to push the envelope and try new things. He got his wish in 1946 when he cast Lorraine Day against type in a complex psychological thriller called The Locket. Its surprising success earned him the chance to do something even more out of the ordinary. Granit was fascinated by the events unfolding in post-war Europe, specifically how the Allied forces, the US, England, France, and Soviet Union, were tenuously cooperating to broker a restructuring of Germany. So he traveled the war-ravaged terrain by train, documenting everything with a 16mm camera. It led to a story idea about a group of passengers headed to an international peace conference. Representatives of the various Allied nations would be thrown together to uncover a conspiracy with global consequences. In developing the story with German émigré Kurt Siodmak, brother of Robert Siodmak, the focus became the Allies' efforts to root out Nazi terrorists who'd gone underground to reform the Reich, a very real concern at the time. Anytime, really. RKO gave Granit its A-team, director Jacques Tourneur and cinematographer Nicolas Musuraca, who just created the quintessential film noir, Out of the Past. But Merle Oberon, cast here somewhat awkwardly as the French member of the Allied collective, insisted on Lucien Ballard as the DP. Not only because they were married, but because Ballard had developed a special lighting rig known as an Obi that helped hide the scars on Oberon's face that she'd gotten in a 1937 car accident. Burt Granit convinced RKO and the Allied governments to let him film in Frankfurt and Berlin, making this the first Hollywood production shot within the occupied zones of post-war Berlin. Making this picture was not easy. All the rubble and ruins are real, and movement through the various zones was not only logistically complicated, but something of a political minefield. But as Burt Granit said when I interviewed him years ago, the war managed to save us about $65 million in sets. And it definitely is the location shooting that makes Berlin Express so distinctive and historically significant. It is tricky to meld unfolding global events into a fast-paced mystery thriller. Here, necessary background is spelled out in voiceover for the less informed. Granit tested dozens of real radio announcers, but rejected them all because their vocal style didn't mesh with the film's approach. He considered having Robert Ryan do the narration, but that only complicated things because he plays one of the main characters. Finally, Granit settled on actor Paul Stewart, a recognizable voice from dozens of noir films, and Stewart nails it. If only he could have done all the omniscient voiceovers in crime movies. Screenwriter Harold Medford pulls off the tricky task of weaving geopolitics into a plot that had to satisfy audiences craving a thriller more than a history lesson. The ride may get a little bumpy at times, but there's plenty of exceptional and historical scenery, and lots of twists and turns along the route. From 1948, all aboard Berlin Express.